Hello everyone, it's Luli, and today I'd like to introduce my top 10 Switch Otome games that are available in English. But before I start, I'd like to thank all of those who have supported me in Patreons, Ko-fi's, tips. I truly appreciate it. I have started doing Patreon exclusive content, to which the link I have placed down below. Also, I'd like to thank those who have boosted my server. That means a lot to me as well. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe if you would like more cozy and Otome game content on your feed, and I promise you, you will not regret it. But anyway, I think that's it. Let me start! In 10th place is Even If Tempest. Now this is a really dark and depressing game, but it's about a main character that grows up under unfortunate circumstances. She then gets betrayed by someone she trusted and dies, and then discovers her ability to come back to life. And it's a really interesting one because there are these witch hunts. It's quite normal for there to be this witch hunt thing held where 5 people are chosen at random and they all must discuss amongst each other, defend themselves, that sort of thing. And 100 people in the audience will then vote who they think the witch is, and whoever gets the most votes ends up being burnt at the stake. Now, if it's a witch, that's it, this event ends. However, if they are not, they have to do this over and over again until the witch is found. Now, I love witch hunt concepts, werewolf, like that. I gobble that up so quickly. So this was a really fun experience for me. The only downfall is that the intimacy levels is relatively low. The love is of course there is romance, but physically speaking, not so much. Also, it does crash a couple of times. Honestly, if you do choose to play this game, I recommend you saving whenever you remember, just because you don't want to regret it where you're like, oh no, I've lost all of that progress, if you know what I mean. So that's kind of what brings it down. In 9th place, and I feel like some of you are going to be like, why is it not higher? But I have my reasons, is Jack Jan. Now this game is about a main character who really wants to be an actor, but unfortunately for reasons she can't. Her older brother gets to go to a prestigious boys' school for acting, and she's like, I really want to go too, but she's a girl so she can't, and she kind of gives up on her dreams of becoming an actor. But one day the headmaster comes along and is like, you know what, you can attend this school if you keep the fact that you're a girl quiet. And she's like, oh okay, and so she takes the entrance exams, passes, and manages to get in, and it's all about her and her journey of becoming an actor. And it's really nice actually. The art is beautiful given it's done by the mangaka Ishida Sui, incredibly distinct from your normal Otome game. And so, you know, that's definitely something to be checked out. It did take me a little bit of getting used to in terms of the sprites because they just don't look classic Otome at all. But the CGs are so pretty that it's just worth it just to look at those as well, to be honest. Also, the friendships and relationships that are built are very heartfelt. Like in the process, you learn the backstories of the characters and it can be an emotional roller coaster, and it is a lot of fun, not gonna lie. The only downside is that the repetition of each playthrough, like it's got a really long common route, and within that you get the different versions of that common route depending on what character you pick, but because a lot of it you've already read before, it gets a bit repetitive, and that's kind of like the downfall for me. Also, while there is that deep kind of romance that supersedes your traditional style, there isn't that much physical intimacy, which is something I value, so that's why it's not even higher, if that makes sense. In 8th place is Amnesia Memories. This game is kind of almost like a thriller horror almost. It's like there's no jump scares necessarily, but basically it's about this main character who loses all her memories. And this fairy appears and is like, you've lost all your memories because of XYZ. You have to live life and try and avoid other people finding out that you've lost your memories, because if they find out, you're going to be put in a hospital, and the only way for you to regain your memories is by experiencing life the way you did. And so there's this kind of constant paranoia almost of, oh my god, do they know that I've lost my memories? And it feels so real. I don't know what it was. I'm not a self-inserter, but this game almost like forced me to self-insert because the main character doesn't really talk. The fairy does most of the talking, and also she's quite like, I don't know, she's very tame. She doesn't have much of a personality, so you just automatically put yourself in her shoes, and I don't think a game's ever made me feel so paranoid and a bit freaked out as much as Amnesia Memories has, if I'm to be completely honest. And one of the characters freaked me out a couple of times, so it's got a special place in my heart in like kind of an exciting way. In 7th place is Variable Barricade. Now this game is about a main character, Hibari, who essentially has been denying marriage proposals being thrown at her from her grandfather because she's like this rich girl and needs to find someone in an arranged marriage, and she's like no. One day her grandfather puts her in a house with 4 unbelievably troublesome men and says, right, you're gonna have to pick one of these 4 to marry. And she's like, sorry, what? And they all have issues. One's got like a gambling problem, one tends to end up with lots of debt because they keep on falling for stupid scams, one's supposedly has a history of scamming by marriage or something, and then you've got one that's a professional kept man. And it's kind of like they all have their quirks. And you know what I liked about this game is that it's really funny. It like made me laugh in so many ways, like in the slapstick humor kind of way. And also it's different to have an Otome game where the love interests want the main character from the start. Like so many Otome games, it's never that way. It's always the main character slowly falling in love with the love interest, which is fine. I like that as well. But every now and then I would like the love interest to fall in love with the main character and want the main character rather than it be the other way around, if that makes sense. So it's that refreshingness that kind of upped it to the 7th place. And note that the main character is really quite unique. She's voiced, she's a Tsun girl, so to be honest, it does kind of divide opinions as a result. In 6th place, and I think some of you might be surprised by this just because it used to be a mobile game before it got ported to Switch, and that is Kings of Paradise. Now think Hanayori Dango, or I guess Boys Before Flowers, but adult version. Not only the main character is in her 30s, which is super relatable for me anyway, but it's like the concept of ending up in a situation where you're surrounded by rich guys that for some reason you end up falling in love with. Like that whole situation is kind of like beyond your imagination and dramatic and juicy and fun, especially given the way this game starts is by you finding out that I think your husband has been cheating on you, and then you go through a divorce, like you divorce him, and then you end up for reasons in the penthouse and now are indebted to the rich guys and have to do as you know you're told, or I can't remember the exact specifics, but it was something like that. It was so much fun. It was like watching a J-drama, so juicy. One of the love interests was drop bang my type, and while, you know, the character designs are very simplistic given its voltage game, and the main character is also very simplistic, there's just I think I just like trashy, juicy stories in general, and this just hit all the spots, you know. And so we're at the halfway point, which is why it's time for a break. Ah! What's that? It's Tokyo Treats! My childhood! In this month's box, we've got Satsumaimo chips, so sweet potato chips, corn starchy snack even, a little donut, a Mount Fuji say biscuit, crispy chocolate, melon flavored haichu, my childhood favorite, lavender flavored gummy things. I am so excited about that. You've got the monaka. I think this is kind of like a sweet potato wafer. Obviously, you've got to have some strawberry chocolate, right? One of my absolute favorites. This is tangerine flavored jellies. Ooh, rice cake. We all know that's like a Japanese staple. And then you've got butter shoyu aji popcorn. This is such a classic flavor. Butter and soy sauce is like one of the best mixes in my opinion. So honestly, you should try it at home, the mix on like a potato or something. And lastly, we've got the more substantial snack, shall we say, of yuzu shio ramen. So yuzu scent, sort of fragrant salt ramen. Yummy! So you know, so many, like if you think about how much this stuff costs individually when you go to like a Japan center or something, this isn't so bad. Now let's try some. First up, I'm gonna try the melon haichu. I love these. They're like, the way the fragrance sort of spreads in your mouth. Yeah, it's as I remember in ways. Sorry, it's just, I always say you can tell when I'm enjoying something when I suddenly stop talking for once. Now I'm gonna try a saltier snack. This one's shio butter aji, which is salt butter flavor. Okay. I'm not really usually a vegetable, like a root, you know, a non-potato vegetable girly, but I think the butter and salt flavor really go well together, you know. And not too thick. Like, you know when you get vegetable crisps, sometimes you get like the really thick ones and you're like, oh my god, my teeth are gonna break. Yeah, it's not like that. It's actually really good. With every box, you get this little booklet. It has things like allergens, and this kind of explains what all the snacks are. For example, you know how I was eating that salt and butter potato crisps earlier? Well, enjoying them a little bit too much. It says here, salt and butter sweet potato crisps, osatsudoki shio butter. Fall is the best time to enjoy one of Japan's top snacks, roasted sweet potatoes. The sweet crunchy treat tastes just like the real thing with a hint of savory butter. And then it has the allergens and whether it's suitable for vegetarians as well. And then of course you've also got things like this, which is kind of like a little bit of a snippet of Japan, if you will. So for example, in this case, it's introducing Fujikyu Highland, which is actually an amusement park. I know in Japan, most people think of like Universal Studios and Disneyland, but the most thrilling of all amusement parks in Japan has got to be Fujikyu. So if you're a thrill seeker, then this is the place to go. Japan's record-breaking amusement park, see? So yeah, it introduces things like this. So not only do you get a whole box full of yummy Japanese snacks, you also get to see like a little bit of the country and get some information as well. I would once again like to thank Tokyo Treat and Sakurako for sponsoring this video. If you would like something to look forward to every month, then if you use the code PEACHFACE, your first box will get a $5 off discount, not to mention you will be helping me and my channel as well. So it's a win-win situation. Remember, PEACHFACE. Enjoy! Welcome back. Now, continuing on with my top 10. In 5th place is Verse Evermore. Now this is a really despair-ridden game, like super depressing. You have to do the bad endings before you get to do the good endings, which even those are a bit questionable. But it's based in this island where everyone's maximum lifespan is 23 years of age. So people die at a ridiculously young age. I would be dead by now. But they have come up with a solution with something called Reliver technology, where you can get a clone of yourself and then transfer your memories from your original onto the clone before you die. But the obvious problem with this is that sometimes your feelings of love towards people can disappear in the process, and then you may like not be in love with someone by that point, which is quite depressing. Now the story follows Celis, who is this unfortunate girl who Basically, everyone sees her as a death god because for some reason, or unfortunate coincidences continue, but whenever anyone hangs out too much with her, they end up dying. So now she's known as a death god and people don't want to hang out with her, and she's incredibly lonely apart from a couple of people who understand her, and yeah. But throughout the whole thing, the atmosphere is depressing. Every route is depressing. Honestly, it's a nice mixture of fantasy and sci-fi though. And while, you know, some of the science is incredibly questionable, if you're like me and you can just kind of ignore that and be like, okay, this is fiction, then it's not an issue at all. The reason why it's not higher is because I think the last route was so long. I started getting bored towards the end, but the art is beautiful. I read it kind of almost like reading really depressing fairy tales almost, and yeah, I like the atmosphere of it. And as many of you know, I love dark stuff, so it was just really my cup of tea. In fourth place is Olympia Soiree. Now this one is like a Japanese mythological fiction fantasy kind of game. It follows Olympia, who is the only girl left from this faraway island. The whole story is based on this main island and she comes from a smaller one. But she is one of the very few left that can bring the sun to rise, and therefore her kind of father figure is like, look, you need to find a husband so that you can get married, have children, and so there's like a couple more who can bring the sun up, if that makes sense. Now, the problem is it's an incredibly classist society. And it's all divided by colour. So you've got the primary colours at the top, which is red, blue, and yellow. And then one class below that is the mixture of those, like orange, green, and purple. And then so on and so forth. Like the more mixed you get, the worse you are. So if you've got like patches of pink and patches of purple and blue and looks super adorable, you're still a patchy mess. So they look down on you, if that makes sense. And it's that kind of navigating that classist society all whilst looking for a husband. Some of the bad endings are so messed up as far as Otome games go that you're like, whoo. So definitely check the trigger warnings if you're the sensitive type, but like, I gobble up bad endings, especially very creative ones, so I really love that about this game. Not to mention the art is beautiful, the whole crystal sparkliness going on. And dear God, the spice levels, I think it's the spiciest Switch game I can think of. Like, that's the level we're talking. Some of the CGs with the skin color, my dear Lord, I was like... But the thing is, there aren't many Switch games that have like sort of intimate scenes, if that makes sense. So in that sense, it was quite refreshing, and I wish they did that more, to be honest. In third place is Radiant Tale. This one is a very sparkly fairy tale kind of thing going on. It's about this main character who wanted to live a normal life. She's called Thalia. One day she ends up being tangled up in this situation where she has to go on a journey with this circus group. Now, the reason why this circus group are going around the country is because the prince has put a spell on himself and he's in this kind of depressed state. And the only way they think they can bring him back to his former self is by getting these flowers to bloom and to bring the, I think, nectar of that to him and make him drink it. And the only way these flowers bloom is by making a huge number of people happy. So they go to each of these different cities and do a performance that suits the theme of that city, and then to make people smile and laugh and get these flowers blooming. But the reason why I liked it so much is that each city was kind of like governed or founded by a fairy, and you know, the stories surrounding these fairies and how the city came to exist, it's just the way it was told felt very, I don't know, just magical, I guess. And the music that comes on when it's told, and Oh, I don't know, it was just so wholesome. I liked it so much, and seeing the characters mingle together. I'm not usually a huge found family girl, but like in this one it felt very happy and like almost like they're going on a quest in an RPG, that sort of thing. And the common route didn't feel long, because in the common route big chunks were different, because depending on what character you go with, that part of the common route is different. And yeah, so very sparkly, very happy, love the art style, love fairy tales. I just really liked it. That's how it made top 3, I guess. In second place is Cupid Parasite. This game is about Cupid, who is really concerned about the rates at which people are falling in love and getting together. She's got this bow that if she fires towards the right people, they are infatuated with one another. And the idea is for them to then continue and then be together and get married. But what keeps on happening is they keep on splitting up, and she's really concerned. One day she sees or finds out that in the human world, they have matchmaking agencies, and she's sort of like, wait, maybe I can match people together doing that instead of using my powers. But her father refuses to listen, so she's like, you know what, fine, I'm going to the human world to show you that matchmaking is indeed possible the human way without using my bow. And he's like, fine. And so that's what she does. Now, a couple of years later, or a year later, I can't remember, but basically she's given the opportunity for a promotion if she manages to matchmake these 5 impossible men, and they're known as the Parasite 5, and they all each have an awful trait about them. One can't fall in love unless that person already has a partner. One kind of rates you and then like won't see you if you're below a certain like level. You've got the one that's obsessed with work, one who cannot stop talking about like mythology and doesn't understand the concept of being with someone out of love. And then you've got this one that's so caught up with a woman in his life that he can't stop thinking about, that he just has no eyes for anyone else because he keeps on comparing them to this girl that he's in love with. And so, you know, it's a complete nightmare. It's like, oh, what do we do? But essentially it is about these 5 and Cupid falling in love, because it's what happens is she's like, right, I'm gonna help you out. But then obviously classically they just end up falling in love with each other, and that's how this goes. And it's a love comedy. The reason why it's so high up, because never ever, apart from this one, have I played an Otome game without bracing myself for a bad ending. Whenever I play an Otome game, I know that the bad ending is going to be, well, bad. So I kind of brace myself in a way so that when it happens, I'm not like that bothered by it. However, with this one, I didn't need to do that. It was just like the most relaxing experience I've ever had. And it's just nice for once, you know, just to play without any dark thoughts. So yeah, that's why Cupid Parasite gets the amazing second place. And now, for the very first place position, and that game is Color Malice. This game is about the main character Ichika, who is in this confined Shinjuku world. It's like an alternate Shinjuku where it's rampant with terrorism and crime, and she is a policewoman working hard. One day she gets kidnapped, and when she wakes up she's got this collar around her neck. It tells her that if she tells anyone about the collar, then it will immediately kill her. And so she can't tell anyone about it, but she's got this, and it's all about her learning more and more about this terrorist group and eventually who it was that put this collar on her neck. But this game is the only game I have truly binged. And I think the reason for this is that each route is like a puzzle piece. Each one kind of tells you a bit more truth about this terrorist group, and you play one after the other, and it all comes together in the end. And it's so exciting. But as a result, it's kind of like, oh my god, I need to play the next route, the next route, the next route, because you want to get to that final, like, learn the truth part of the game. And I'm still looking for a game that will make me binge it as much as this one did. And so, yeah, I don't know. It was just really good. So plot driven. It's just, again, I really, really wish I could find another game that makes me play at the rate that this game made me play. I was addicted, and I mean like the kind of addicted where you keep on playing it, and when you realize it's 4 a.m. and you're like, oh god, tomorrow is gonna be a rough morning, like that kind of level. But yeah, so that's kind of it really. What are your favorite Otome games? Do comment them below, because I'd like to see which ones are more popular than others. But anyway, as always guys, thank you very much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and hopefully I will see you in another one of my videos or streams. Bye!